people may be sensitive or react sensitively towards this topic. Ultimately, what is more important is that we are to speak out what they think, and also to get across the message why thinking that non-Muslims should not interfere with this proposed amendment. And then why are non-Muslims, what are the fears of the non-Muslim that has not been identified. So I hope through this forum we are able to have an understanding, because our nation basically, we are founded on tolerance. And there is no taboo as such. And religion has never been a taboo. We have always respect one another. We are able to live together in harmony for up to years. And we hope to pass this continuously to our future generation. But what is important to note is that because of recent over-politicking, we have moved from a tolerant society to from tolerance to dominance. People are trying to flex their muscles. Politicians are exploiting sentiments. Media are sensationalizing issues. But nobody is trying to read each other's mind, to come to a meeting of mind. And this is what our Religious Harmony Bureau intention is. We have many people who show interest, they want to participate, but because we have to limit this representative of organizations or sections of the society or interest group, because we do not want tonight's forum to be a show of force. It is purely to articulate intellectually, rationally, and objectively. So I hope we hold on to this principle, which tonight, all that is present, we have a duty to show we Malaysians can discuss in a very sensible, rational, reasonable manner and environment. Unlike politicians, although I'm a politician, but I think unlike politicians who sometimes tends to be over dramatic. And also, because I myself has, in the past when I was in Basri in the 80s, after the Iran Revolution, and Ustaz Hadi was a very popular speaker, and Anwar Ibrahim was representing the establishment. In the past, the message given to me was, Anwar Ibrahim or even many other Ustaz, I will not quote name because I have no record to substantiate. The message is that we must be ready. Our country is a multiracial society. We are not ready. There must be preparation. We must be convinced that we are able to. But today, our country, we are infested with corruption and corrupted culture and people who corrupt or sell short their values. And we also have the danger of people exploiting religion, race, and culture. So today, are we ready? So I hope our panelists today are able to enlighten us, and participants from the floor, I hope you do not overreact if the panel says something which doesn't suit your sentiment or your feeling. And actually, I must also say that I regret that we actually invited Ustaz Nurul, formerly from Jagir, to be one of our speakers. But unfortunately, he was pressured to back out. So I believe we should not be pressuring one another. This is a democratic society. We are not an authoritarian communist or past this. We are not so intolerant. We do not accept differing views. So I hope whatever Ustaz Nurul's pressure is, I hope he can overcome it. And whoever give him the arm twisting or pressure, I hope they will be more respectful. That religion teach us to positive teachings. I think there's a lot of positive spirits in religion, but unfortunately, it has been hijacked or sometimes distracted to a tool by politicians or tool by certain people to dominate one another. So I hope this is not true, although this is my fear. So without much ado, I will pass to our first speaker, Mr. Kevin Khoo. And just now the MC has already given the background, so I won't repeat again. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Kevin Khoo. I am actually a graduate from University Islam, and I did my diploma in Shariah, so I know a little bit about Sharia law. I also did my master's in law after my graduation from DSLP. So I have been practicing law for some time. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak tonight. Alright, so let's go straight into this presentation. Recently, we have seen that certain events have overtaken the country. Right? And this began with the amendment to the Sharia Hudud Bill in Kelantan. As of 2015, the Kelantan Hudud Bill amendment was passed. And the Menteri Besar of Kelantan, Datuk Ahmad Yaakob, he mentioned, right, that non-Muslims should not be afraid because hudud laws will not apply to them and would only apply to Muslims in Kelantan. And that was the start of it. And then later on in the year, we heard that hudud law will only apply to Muslims in Kelantan. This was again from our Deputy Prime Minister. But later on, next slide please. Can I have the next slide please? Oh no, the previous one. Yes, the Deputy Menteri Besar of Kelantan, he explained in 2016, June, that the hudud amendments being sought would apply to all Muslims in this country. And so that sparks off the discussion. I think we have to be clear that the amendments being sought by Hadi's bill, there were actually two versions of it. Can we go to the next slide? This was version 1.0, where Hadi was seeking an amendment for all punishments under Sharia law, which can be passed, except death, short of death. Right? This means that it would include things like 80 lashes for drinking alcohol. If you catch somebody for theft, maybe cutting off the hand, right? And so on and so forth, right? For qazaf, maybe lashes as well, right? And then later on, there was a big hue and cry, and everyone said this was quite a tough amendment which is being sought. So Hadi took one step backwards. Can I have the next slide, please? And then there is now a different type of amendment being sought, where the maximum punishment is now proposed to be amended to 30 years or 100,000 ringgit or 100 lashes or a combination thereof. That is what is now being sought. The original is 3 years or 5,000 ringgit or 6 lashes. So to put it in context, this is no longer about cutting off limbs. This is now about an increase in the jurisdiction of the Sharia court in order to give increased punishments. And for me, the next slide please. This is actually Hadi's way of taking one step backwards so that he can take 2 steps forward. Right? For me, this is merely a compromise because there was such a big hue and cry. So the end objective is, of course, not this version 2.0. The end objective is something much more than that. For me, I'm afraid that the end objective of Hadi and Tuk Guru Hadi and all his group, they want to see hudud being implemented, wholesale implementation of hudud. And this is only a way of getting it, to reduce their demands today. right? And again, at the bottom there, I say, why use the word melebihi? I always wondered about that. If you look at the previous slide, can I see the previous slide? Yes. Penjara selama tempoh melebihi 30 tahun. Why is there the word melebihi over there? It means more than 30 years? Or does it mean 30 years? Atau denda melebihi 100,000 ringgit. Does it mean more than 100,000 or 100,000? It's, yeah. So that part, I'm not sure why the word melebihi was used. Right? If it means tidak melebihi, it means does not exceed. But the word melebihi means more than that. Right? Okay, the next slide please. So, this is how I see it. At first, Tok Guru Hadi has proposed Bill version 1. Then we made noise, he came back with Bill version 2. If this is passed, he'll come back with Bill version 1. And then future enhancement and more future enhancement. And this is the part that we see, that non-Muslims see. It is not the end all and be all. This is just part of the process. Next slide, please. Right? Version 1 was everything except death. Today is asking for 30 years, 100 lashes, and 100,000 ringgit. But tomorrow, if this is passed, then he'll come back with everything except death. The day after that, everything including death. And then the day after that, maybe full-blown hudud, qisas, and ta'zir. For those who do not know, qisas is the right of retaliation, where if you harm this person, the person has the right to harm you back, bodily harm, same way. Otherwise, there's diyat, blood money, right? There's ta'zir as well, where the judges can have the discretion to give certain punishments, not in hudud. But do we really need that? All right? So what I see is that this is taking one step back to get 2 steps forward. Next please. Now, the next point I wish to make is that it's very normal. It's very normal for people to want to be better than their previous generation. We always want to say that we are better than what our father was. We want to say that we have progressed. But if you make Act 355 as the benchmark of that progress, then, you know, what gets measured gets managed. This is from management, right? Peter Drucker is it. What gets measured gets managed. So if you focus on one thing, and that is the penalties, then you'll focus on how to increase that penalties. There are so many other things to measure, right? So there are, for example, you know, the maximum terms that our Prime Minister has. That is one thing that we have not measured, right? In the US, the president must resign or must step down after 2 terms. Or the automatic declassification of official secrets, things like this. We are not measuring it. Right? Next. Malaysia is a unique country. We are multiracial, multi-religious, multicultural, multilinguistic, and from multiple sorts of backgrounds. All right? Some of us don't even meet each other. So it's right that some of us may not understand others in our country. But when I look at Act 355, what it is, the penalties, some may complain, are too light. But maybe the founding fathers did not intend for harsh Islamic criminal laws to be implemented in this country. They saw a peaceful country, they thought that it was good enough, and let it be that way. I feel that what people are saying now, we just need a simple majority to amend. That is not very correct. The sultans are actually the head of religion in this country, and their view to this amendment must be sought. As long as they have not said that they are backing this, in fact, it is not right to go ahead, even if there is a simple majority to carry the amendment through. The sultan's view is very important because they are the head of the religion, and they are also the rulers of all people in this country. Not just the Muslims, but also the non-Muslims. And so they have a right to think about us as well, the non-Muslims, how it would affect us. Right? Next. I would like to refer to the Rukun Negara. I think all of us, we went to school, we learned about the Rukun Negara. Maka kami berikrar akan menumbuhkan. We learned that, right? And the first thing is that kepercayaan kepada Tuhan. It means faith in God. But very importantly, this Rukun Negara came out of May 13. That means our founding fathers also viewed this kepercayaan kepada Tuhan as something so important. But very importantly, they didn't mention which Tuhan. They understood that all of us got Tuhan. I got Tuhan, you got Tuhan, and all of this must be respected. Alright? So all faiths in Malaysia are equally respected. And it doesn't mean that Act 355 must be amended. There are 5 aims of the Rukun Negara. None of them imply that the Act 355 needs to be amended. And so, with that, I understand that some quarters have said that the Rukun Negara should be inserted into the Constitution. If we do that, it will be a very good move. I support such a move. I think that kepercayaan kepada Tuhan, if it is made part of the Federal Constitution, it will guide our leaders, our parliamentarians in making law. Alright? Next. I would also like to comment about our neighbors. In the neighboring states, for example in Brunei, there has been hudud law enacted. And in Brunei, this hudud law impacts not only Muslims but also the non-Muslims. All of the people in that country are impacted. Even the tourists are also impacted. And so there are many things which took place. Apparently, also impacting the Christians cannot celebrate Christmas openly. Lion dances are restricted. No firecrackers allowed during Chinese New Year. Businesses must close during Friday prayers. Restaurants must close during Ramadan fasting. Non-Muslims cannot eat openly during fasting time. Now, is it right to say that this will not impact the non-Muslims? We can see from our neighboring country, it's a very small country, not many people. If we go in, if the people in this hall went over there, we will overrun them, you know? Yeah. So, they want to have things like this, right? It impacts the non-Muslims. And we see in Indonesia, it is a secular country, but it is also very significantly the most populous Muslim country in the world, right? But they are guided by the Pancasila. Pancasila is put as a preamble to their constitution. It was amended 3 times, but each time the Pancasila was inside there. And it guides them, right? They take a more Nusantara approach rather than Arabic approach. But one part of Indonesia, called Aceh, they implement hudud. And very alarmingly, we can see that in Aceh, the non-Muslim woman, 60 years old frail lady, was whipped 30 times in public because she was on alcohol. Are you going to say that hudud does not impact the non-Muslim? Right? There's a picture of this poor lady being whipped in public. 60 years old, imagine that. Can you stand to see any 60-year-old being whipped? Next. There is a danger of overzealous authorities. And we know that some of these cases has cropped up in our news, right? We have the Borders case, where there was a raid over a book. There was the Bible Society Al-Kitab case. And this was a case where the authorities also raided the premises. There was Jagir's DUMC case, where Jagir also raided the premises, right? And this was, and even in 2008, IKIM gave a suggestion, right, that non-Muslim and Muslim together in close proximity can be charged for khalwat. This was a huge controversy, and apparently nothing happened. But in 2012, a non-Muslim was convicted of khalwat, right? This case was appealed, and then the conviction was affirmed. And then, after that, through some way, the prosecutor said, okay, this case has to be dropped. It was very clear that she is a non-Muslim, right? And all of these are even before the amendment of Act 355. All of these happened before Act 355 is amended. Can we see even more serious things happening to our country after Act 355 is amended? Right? Okay, the next slide, please. This was the lady who was convicted of Khalwat. Her name is Halima. Right? Okay. Yeah, I was coming to this one. This one is another comment I wish to make. In Malaysia, we have 18,000 teenage pregnancies reported by Ministry of Health. Right? This was in 2015. And you would think that 18,000 is a huge number, right? But what happens if RUU355 is implemented? Well, with that 30, 100, 100, maybe it is limited to 100 lashes, but still it is very serious. I want to show you the next slide. There is a case from Nigeria. You see, in Nigeria, what happened? A number of states decided to implement hudud, and one of them was a state called Zamfara. So, in Zamfara state, there was a lady. She got pregnant. All right, her name was Amina Lawal. In this case, the lady was sentenced to death by stoning. It was an international hue and cry over this matter, because it seems very inhuman. You want to stone this lady merely because she has had a pregnancy. All right? Can you imagine what would happen to Malaysia? We have 18,000 pregnancies, and you have the 30, 100, 100. Do you want to jail them for 30 years? Do you want to lash them 100 times? What do you want to do with them? Right? Where is this going to? Can you imagine that some of these 18,000 are actually related to us? Anak saudara, anak buah. Sometimes it is things like this which we need to think about, right? And I pity those people. If you really want to pass this 355, what happens to them? All right, next. There is also a danger of double jeopardy. This is in my point of view, right? There is a danger of double jeopardy. And for those of you who do not understand what is double jeopardy, it means that you have been charged for this crime, and then you are charged again for the same crime. That means you are tried 2 times for your crime, right? It doesn't matter whether you have escaped the first time round, they charge you again. Now, I want to give an example, because maybe some people don't understand. If Anwar Ibrahim's sodomy case were to be heard again, after Act 355 amendment is passed, where would it be heard? Where should it be tried? It's a very real question. All right? We know today Anwar Ibrahim is in jail, right? But is there a chance, right, that he can be charged under the Shariah court? Because there are overlapping provisions. Under the penal code, we have unnatural sex against the cause of nature, right? And Akta Kesalahan Jenayah Shariah, we have liwat. Both of these are more or less the same thing. If this Act 355 is passed, can he be tried in the Shariah court today? Next. There is also a danger of inequality post-amendment. By this I mean that today the civil court in its criminal jurisdiction can give a jail sentence up to 20 years. The proponents, the champions of Act 355 amendment are asking for 30 years. Will this make the civil court inferior to the Shariah court? If the aim was to bring it to the same level? Does it mean that after this amendment, you are going to give 30 years for the civil court? That's another thing for you to chew on, right? Next. I'm getting to the end. I see my friend showing me 2 minutes, all right? My suggestion, I wrapped up with this, right? My suggestion is that in the 9th schedule of the Federal Constitution, the criminal jurisdiction, the power of the Sharia court to punish for offenses is in the federal legislation. And you know what? Federal legislation can refer to the federal constitution, but it can also refer to statute, like an act. The difference is that an act can be amended by a simple majority, 50%. So you can amend it today, you can enhance it tomorrow, you can enhance it again the day after and the day after. Who knows how many times you are going to amend. My suggestion is abolish this act and put the provisions into the federal constitution, because this has something to do with religion. The religious court. It is something which needs to be elevated, protected. Statusnya harus dinaikkan, ditinggikan. And in the federal constitution, it will be at the same par with your Act 1, your Article 160, your Article 153, your Article 3, your Article 11, as long as it's in the federal constitution. I suggest this because the federal constitution is something that all of us respect. And I respect my friends. Alright? So, with that, I wish to end my talk. Alright? If I have made any mistakes, if I have offended anyone, I'm sorry, but I'm here to share my view. Alright? So, Kofi Annan said the earth is not ours. It is a treasure we hold in trust for our children. We must be worthy of that trust. Thank you very much.
So we are talking about religion more from the perspective of compassion. And when we talk about law, about justice. So are we missing the point when we don't want to talk about justice? What about non-Muslims who are not allowed to be witness? What about non-Muslims who are victims to a Muslim offender and he get away because we are unable to fulfill the procedure? And who are the enforcers? We are empowering the enforcement officers. If officers today are so many are said to be corrupted, are we sure that in future this corruption will not exist? So then our next speaker will be Sardar Moeis bin Basri, Deputy President, Malaysian Shariah Lawyers Association. So yes, now we have Kevin speaking from the non-Muslim point of view. So we hope Sardar Moeis bin Basri can enlighten us about what is the assurance that this power will not be abused. Is it true that non-Muslims are not going to be affected? What about many other issues that have been raised by the media and the authorities or even the people empowered to answer choose not to answer? They just tell you a simplistic answer, oh don't worry, it will not affect non-Muslim. Just like Anthony Lok said, apa nak takut? Kalau tak curi apa nak takut? It's too simplistic. We are afraid because human beings are not angels. There are more devils than angels among us. Thank you.
Current situation and current provision of the Federal Constitution only apply to Muslim. Means that non-Muslim cannot even be brought to Sharia court. Even in the Sharia criminal offences for Selangor, the enactment of Sharia Selangor, Sharia criminal offences, it doesn't have a provision of even for a person who denounces Islam. It only has a provision that when a person denouncing Islam for the purpose of running away or avoiding the punishment in the Sharia court, only that can be considered as a Sharia offences under the enactment. But it's not that if you denounce Islam, not for the reason to avoid any prosecution in the Sharia court, can be prosecuted in the Sharia court. So that is one of the example of what can guarantee that non-Muslim will not be affected by whatever happened in the Sharia court. Okay. I was told that for today's discussion is about the implication of Hadi Awang's RUU355. Okay, from the topic given, it already says that this is not an amendment to make way for hudud. It is Hadi Awang's RUU355. That's the topic. Okay, and definitely, the proposed amendment to the Act 355 is not. I can say that it is not a hudud at all. Okay. To discuss about hudud, maybe we need another sessions because it's too big, and I may not be the expert to explain about hudud in detail. Okay. First of all, we have to look at what is Act 355. I have a copy here. The Act number 355. It has only 3 sections. Okay. And the part that in issue from the latest proposed amendment is only the proviso to sections 2 of the Act. Okay. The current position or the current provision of the proviso is that provided that such jurisdiction shall not be exercised in respect of any offence punishable with imprisonment for a term exceeding 3 years, or with any fine exceeding 5,000 ringgit, or with whipping exceeding 6 strokes, or any combination thereof. Okay. This was introduced, or this took force on the 1st January 1984. It was about 32 or 33 years back then. Okay. This act passed by the parliament to enable the state assembly to pass any law relating to Muslim, in particular about the Shariah criminal, what can be included as a Shariah offences. Okay. As we know, I have to maybe this you all have know this, that the source of the Sharia court jurisdiction basically from list 2 of the 9th schedule to federal constitution, which provides, if I may read the provision in words, where it lists down the state list where the state assembly can make laws, except with respect to federal territories of Kuala Lumpur, Labuan and Putrajaya, Islamic law and personal and family law of persons professing the religion of Islam, including the Islamic law relating to succession, testate and intestate, betrothal, marriage, divorce, dower, maintenance, adoption, legitimacy, guardianship, gift, partitions and non-charitable trusts, wakaf, and the definition and regulation of charitable and religious trusts. The appointment of trustees and the incorporation of person in respect of Islamic religious and charitable endowments, institution, trust, charities, and charitable institutions operating wholly within the state, Malay custom, zakat, fitrah, and baitul mal or similar Islamic religious revenue, mosque or any Islamic public places of worship, creation and punishment of offences by persons professing the religion of Islam against precept of that religion, except in regard of matter included in the federal list. What are the offences that list under the basically for criminal law, it is under the federal list. Okay, so we have penal code in place. Okay, only some part of what the Muslim or what Islam considered as offences against the religion of Islam is being conferred to the Sharia court, and it also will be decided by the state assembly. Means that the implication of the proposed amendment of the act does not automatically give powers to Sharia court to impose the penalty or the maximum penalty that has been laid down in the proposed amendment. Okay, we keep asking, what if? The question of what if after the proposed amendment it will be 1 step backwards but 2 step forward. Okay, but I also can ask, what if after the amendment none of the state assembly will review or amend the Sharia criminal offences enactment in their states? Okay, it can be here and it can be this or that. Okay, we keep kita risau. Okay, kita takut. Okay, Sometimes we afraid of things that already that not happen yet. Okay. If you can presume or assume the negativity of it, okay, I also can ask and presume that maybe the Seri is not interested to review the current provision of the Shariah criminal offences enactment in the states. So the current provision or the current maximum penalty that can be imposed by the Shariah court remain as it is. Okay, that's the first thing. Okay. And as Datuk Seri said just now, this proposed amendment has been manipulated by certain quarters. I can agree with that. Okay, and from my view, I can frankly say my view is that this proposed amendment has been given an unnecessary limelight. Okay, it is actually a very simple proposal for amendment, but we have thinking too much. Okay, for what will happen next, For what will happen next, okay, we will do as it comes. As at now, we take it as it is. If we are too worried, we go for what will happen next, okay? We will even think that North Korea can launch their nuclear missile to Malaysia. We can think that big, okay? But whether we can sure that will happen, okay? Whether we sure that whatever that our worry will come. Yes, we can be worried, but not worry too much, because I believe in Malaysia we can still maintain that tolerance. We still have that good people that can always stand if something goes wrong. And back to the situations that have been given by my brother Kevin about what happened in one of the states in Nigeria. Okay, what happened in other countries that try to implement hudud and it looks bad. Okay, we have to remember that religion always teaches good things. I believe my religion, Islam, teaches me a good things, but sometimes, okay, bad things happen. Because why? Because sometimes the administrator, okay, of the so-called religious authority, or the so-called authorities who administering the law gone corrupted. That's why, for me, if you ask me about hudud, I touch a little bit on hudud. Okay, one of the Quranic verse which says that something about when you dalam bahasa Melayu dia beginilah, okay, jika seseorang melakukan kerosakan dalam bahasa Melayu, okay, but it was translated in the English version as corruption. Who corrupts, okay, must be punished with death penalty, or crucified, or cutting off hand and leg. Okay, that is the most severe punishment. If we are talking about what the hudud, okay, that is the severe punishment in the Quran. Okay, means that corruption, yes, corruption is things that must be severely punished. Okay. So, as I said, this proposed amendment, nothing to do with hudud, is only an intention to expand the powers if the state legislative assembly feel it is fit to expand the penalties that can be imposed by the Sharia court. Okay, because why? Because if we look at the history of Act 355, it was last amended. The current provision was last introduced in 1984, which are 3 years jail, okay, 5,000 ringgit fine, and 6 whipping of 6 strokes of rotan. Okay, that was in 1984. Even with that maximum penalties, you can go and check the Sharia criminal offences enactment in every state. Not every offences that listed under or provided under the enactment are imposed or are given a provision with that maximum penalties. Not all. Okay. And even if the state legislative assembly amend the Sharia criminal offences enactment, doesn't also means automatically whoever has been convicted under those Sharia offences will be imposed with the maximum penalties. Okay, same like the civil court. We have a maximum penalties provided under the penal code. The same things under the Sharia criminal offences. But okay, thank you. No, I mean, normally the court will not impose that maximum penalties. Okay. 2 more minutes, okay. And I would also like to respond a little bit on the what my brother Kevin has said just now about Brunei and Malaysia, about Indonesia and Aceh. Okay, we can make comparison, but we have to remember the structure of Brunei and Malaysia is very much different. We have here Raja berperlembagaan, while in Brunei we have an absolute monarchy. So the Sultan in Brunei, okay, he can introduce anything. He can introduce any law. He can make whatever law. Okay, absolute monarchy. Here we have a Raja berperlembagaan, constitutional monarchy. So I don't think that we could compare Malaysia and Brunei, and also we cannot compare Indonesia and Aceh. Aceh in Indonesia has a very different different history. Okay, and people may ask about the 100 lashes of rotan or 100 whips. Okay, sometimes we imagine that whipping is like the civil court. I mean the criminal in the civil court or civil law. Okay, while in Sharia it is already written in the Sharia Criminal Procedure Enactment or Sharia Criminal Procedure Act in for federal territories that we can see at particularly section 125 about how the whipping has to be done. Okay, and if you see the whipping in the Sharia law that can be imposed by the Sharia court is very much different. Yes, it can be imposed on women, unlike the civil court, which cannot be imposed on women. But the whipping rod, I mean the provision of section 125 of that act or enactment as the state provided, The whipping rod can be made either from rattan or small branch of tree without segment or joint, and its length not more than 1.22 meters and its thickness not more than 1.25 centimeters. Okay. And before execution of the sentence, the offender shall be examined by the government medical officer. Okay. And if the offender is pregnant, the execution shall be postponed until the end of 2 months. Okay, and the sentence shall be executed before a government medical officer in such place as the court may direct. Okay, and one of the provision also, the person shall use the whipping rod with average force without lifting his hand over his head, so that the offender's skin is not cut. Okay, that's how. Okay, so I have to conclude. Give me another 1 minute. I have to conclude. Maybe I take too long, but in short, I would like to say that for non-Muslim, don't worry. First, for non-Muslim, don't worry about the proposed amendment, because the federal constitution guarantees that non-Muslim will not be included or will not be involved in the whatever happened or the Shariah criminal offences. Okay, and for Muslim, don't be worried also, because maybe it's a cliche answer that if you are not committing a crime, you should not be worried. But but as I said just now, even the whipping also is very different from the civil court whipping. And of course, you have this is not really a severe punishment. Is compared to 1984 with 5,000 fine, and today it can impose 100,000 fine. Is with the what? Dulu mungkin keadaan ekonomi lain, sekarang keadaan ekonomi lain, and the law itself must be felt. Okay, with 5,000 actually. People tend to ridicule Sharia court, that never mind, we can commit any Sharia offense because the maximum is only 5,000. Okay, so the law is not fair. So it did not serve the purpose of the existence of the law itself. Okay, thank you very much. Okay.
Moeis has said that maybe we are overreacting. So if our former Inspector General can say that, oh, this Act 355 amendment is actually an introduction to hudud. So can we be assured that Malay Muslims in Malaysia is different from Muslims in Aceh or in some other country? Or are we in a position today? And another thing is, Anwar Ibrahim, in rejecting hudud in the past, even many UMNO leaders and many academicians have rejected, and they say that because we are a multiracial society, it will affect this intercultural, it will raise conflicts, etc. So, can you enlighten us on all this? Thank you.
Respected moderator, fellow panelists, and friends. I will take up first the daily questions being asked by members of the public. I will address 3 questions first before I go to the constitutional position. Whether Act 355 will only apply to Kelantan or whether it will apply to other parts of the country. I'll take up the second question, whether the Act 355 will affect non-Muslims. I'll take up the third question, the defense that the bill only aims to enhance punishment or only impose punishment limits before I go to the constitutional position. So very briefly, very fast, the first point to consider is this: Act 73, Article 70 of the Federal Constitution, Article 73 provides the legislative powers of Parliament and the state. Parliament and state. So Article 73 says any act of Parliament applicable throughout the country. Now, the state if the state makes law, only applicable within the state. We must be clear. So, first thing to note, Act 355 is to be passed by Parliament. There is no mention it's only for Kelantan. Therefore, simple conclusion, it is applicable throughout the country, including Sabah and Sarawak. Although when they join, they have got their ironclad assurances in that when 1963 Malaysia was formed, there is a provision, there's no provision in the act that the states will not have, there's a provision, state will not have a state religion. Provision that Sabah and Sarawak will not have a state religion. Until today, Sarawak does not have. Sabah in 1976 made provision, but that people are thinking of challenging because the very reason for the formation of Malaysia and their joining was basis of that. So now we know that if the act is passed, the bill is passed, it will be applicable throughout the country. So from there, I will quickly move on to, before I will cover the other points, will the Act 355 affect non-Muslims? Simple question. Apa jadi kalau seorang Muslim dia curi dari non-Muslim, or vice versa, or there is maybe they involved in a brawl, one Muslim, non-Muslim, where do they go? So it's very clear implication. When a Muslim is bound to the Shariah, these offences are there. What is the remedy of non-Muslims as a victim? He is a victim. Is there a remedy? Discuss. That's why in the earlier provision of past proposed hudud law by section 56, subsection 2, they were aware that these things will happen. So they provided a non-Muslim can opt to come under Sharia. There was an option given in the section. Now they say they are moving it, but it can come back again. Because why? Without that you can't function. So if an option is given, that is unconstitutional. Because, as my learned friend said, who said that only Muslims are subject under Schedule 9 applicable. So once Muslim subject, you cannot give option to a non-Muslim. You cannot give option. So because jurisdiction by law, you cannot say. So you cannot give a. This is a very clear law on this point. You cannot give. So what happens if? Now we also know a paper submitted by Jagir. I've read the paper. I think many of us have read it here. Jagir paper, which stated that they will be implementing hudud 2 stages. Now this act, I think it will be 3 stages. The first, according to them, first stage only applicable to Muslims. They say otherwise it's not fair. Second stage, it must apply to non-Muslim. That is in the technical paper, still there. The apparatus for implementation, apparatus. That means what I'm trying to say, the Kelantan Sharia Criminal Act Enactment 1993, amended 2050 is still there. It does not say that it will follow this new amendment. The apparatus is still there. The technical committee of Pas and Amon is still there. The Jagir technical committee is still there. And now I just want to draw members' attention to the leaders' comments from Pas. Because the first one, according to Dr. Caroline Aman Razali, he himself admits zina, illicit sex for unmarried Muslims, khazaf, false accusation of zina, and consumption of alcohol. These are hudud offences that will come under Act 355. He's already admitted. So if anybody is selling alcohol or in the company where Muslim and non-Muslim are sitting, what will happen? Or the other way around. So I want to come to the constitutional point and quickly go to the next one. They say only raising punishment limits. That is not true, because you can only say that if no new offences are being brought in. But I just read to you, 3 hotel offences already brought in. You are raising the limit to create new offences. That is actually, and those offences are hotel offences. So how can you say it's not a hotel bill? Because it is already brought in 3 offences at the moment. So in fact, prior to 2015, you can see all the time that it's a hotel bill. Now at 355, to me it's a repackaging to give it the innocent flavor, so that there will be it will be more acceptable and less protest. So this statement, already the hotel offences. Then what type of hoodoo they have in mind? This also. I will just read to you. We intend to make a new approach to revive what was implemented by Islam 1,400 years ago. That is the 7th century. That is the proposal. Ultimately, what was that? At that time, what shall I say, the position of non-Muslim was very precarious. They were divided into 4. Kafir Harbi, Kafir Harbi Hukman, Kafir Zimi, Kafir Mustamin. They were in the 4. When we can remember Terengganu, our past president Hadi Awang, he was the Mantri Besar. First thing he did was that he introduced tax jazia based on the last one, not on the Zimi. That we were Zimmi, that means we will be protected, but we must pay tax. That happened 15 years ago in the country, Jazia. I don't know whether many of us remember it was there. So this is a very slippery slope. I agree your intentions are good, but you will not be there to implement, because if the law allows, it will be used. We have to have law that does not goes against the constitution. Very briefly, the slippery slope started in 1976. In 1976, 19 years after we achieved independence. We achieved independence 1957, 1976, August 27, gazetted. So this Schedule 9, my good friend was telling that Schedule 9, earlier it was known as Muslim law, Muslim courts. It only dealt with family, personal inheritance, nothing else. Earlier, the bungalows and all that. So I want to show you the intention behind our constitution. In 1976, they amended Muslim law to say Islamic law. Muslim court changed to Sharia court. That word one Shariah created the present trend, because that word Sharia means Sharia got 6 branches. 1 branch is hudud. So with that amendment, initially it was this we see the progression taking place. So now here you see the founding fathers' view. As I said, in the constitution, the word Sharia did not appear under Schedule 9, 57. No. Only 1976, Schedule 9. And then by our leaders, UMNO, MCA, MIC, when they put a representation to the Reid Commission, they only said that they want Islam as the religion of the Federation. They inserted Article 3.4. 3.4 say, nothing in this section shall abridge or override other parts. So that means we cannot use this position to affect other sections. This section stands alone, cannot override. And so you see the guarantees all these is not the social contract. What Shariah was not there, it was only in 1976, and all the Lian's memorandum, the Reed Commission report, the third document historical was this, what do you call it, the white paper issued in Britain which gave us independence. That one, and all these stated Malaysia will be secular, will not have secular laws. So until today, all our laws are secular, although the word people don't like the word secular. But I got no other word. And but then the laws today, and if you see Article 160 of the Constitution, 160, it defines law for the purpose of the Constitution. The definition of Article 160, I think I have to be accurate in that. Law includes the definition. You must interpret, you must use this under Article 160. It includes written law. That means all the laws, penal code, CPC, everything, all the written law. Even the Constitution is a written law. The common law, so far as it is in operation, and any custom or usage having the force of law. 3. So Shariah is not included until today as the law of the land under the definition. If you go by the definition, so you see the problem is that we have seen 3 hudud offences are coming in. What was the social contract? The social contract was that all agreed that we abide by this constitution, and there was no provision at that time for Sharia laws. So to me, the threshold 356 has to remain, because the moment you try to go over the limit 3 years and the 5,000 fine and the 6 lashes, you are encroaching, you are going on a slippery path towards Sharia, a step towards creating a parallel system. You must remember that. So, through the word hudud is not used, but then you see when you take together that it is actually going towards hudud offences. One step, maybe second step will be further up, as the technical committee of Jagir has stated. You has to be 2-3 steps. The thing. Now, how many minutes do I have? How many topics? 5 minutes. Okay. Since I got only 5 minutes, some good friends, I'm going to quote only Muslim scholars, what they have to say about this bill, or Muslim leaders. Number one, 284 Malay NGOs stated bill is unconstitutional. Appeared in the Star 26 July. Malay Consultative Council Chairman Tan Sri Abdul Aziz Abdul Rahman says it is beyond competence of Parliament. Next heading, ex-IGP, as our chairman and moderator told us, wants our past tactic to slowly push for hudud law. Number 3, Don, Professor Abdullah A. Au Naim from Amroy University, who do not found in scripture and Muslim not applies to support law. Then comes another Muslim scholar, international, Dr. Jasir Oda, AUDA. He says, hudud not applicable in current global climate, says Islamic scholar. Modern countries do not have 2 criminal courts. The social, welfare and economic problems must be tackled first, and also stressed that the Islamic penal code should not be implemented if there was even a slight doubt about the justice system. He will say the justice system must be elevated, whether people have enough to eat, proper education, proper health facility, proper housing, all that must come first, according to him, before you can implement. Because then Malaysia Guinea by Azlan Zabhari Sharia amendments lead to more injustice, especially for women, he says, and children. Tidak salah umat Islam tolak hudud PAS, kata Mufti Polis Malaysia today, 25 March. Because he says it's not divine law, it is man-made. Tetapi dia kata the Holy Quran, Holy Sunnah memang tidak boleh siapa-siapa pun question, but the laws are different, he says. Then G25, Hadi's bill will lead to hudud. They have a conclusion. G2 argued that Hadi's bill cannot be looked at in isolation, but must be taken into a context with the background that the past state of Kelantan has already hudud enactment in place. You must see that they are going step by step. Any Minister Nazri, dia kata only fools will talk about hudud in Malaysia, says Umrah Minister. There is no need to discuss something that will not happen. Refrain from calling for Islamic State. Police Mufti tells Muslims. So they suggested that Muslims, and in particular Muslim minorities, should refrain from calling for the formation of Islamic State or enforcement of Islamic laws that rule over others. Then we have on Dawn, Islamic State is not good even for Muslims, he says. His sociologist Said Farid Alatas, he gave example, a survey was conducted in Turkey 2 years ago where the religious citizens, itu survey, not everybody can take part, all those people who were classified religious, secular cannot vote. When they voted, only from the religious 7% want to live under hudud. Even the religious people did not. When it's a survey. In our country, we never carried out a survey. We assume that this is the position. And Professor Tariq says, proposes that to promote Shariah, the government must be more serious about what I said, education, justice, fighting corruption, and in the manner in which women are treated. So, to round up, this Act 355 actually is a slippery road. I've already shown. Let me just last quote that will by past Youth Chief Nick Muhammad Abdul bin Nick Abdul Aziz. What does he say? Act 355 is a prison against implementing the true Islamic Sharia law. The laws bow down to the federal constitution. Like other Act 355 cannot, because federal constitution does not allow it. And he says, how can their powers exceed the Holy Quran and all that? So he says that, in other words, he's trying to say that the constitution should be subject to the Islamic law. That is his contention. And so I think we are a multinational country, we are staying together, we have been since independence day together, and we see around us, there are 57 OIC Muslim countries, only 12 implemented hudud, and according to 2 weeks back, I heard the Datuk Basri, he was on the 22nd of February, he gave a talk on hudud. He stated out of 12, 10 countries have already dropped hudud, gone back, leaving Aceh and Saudi Arabia. So even those countries that have gone, try to come back. The new 21st century, Tunisia and Egypt are the ones, they put in their constitution that they want only secular Muslims. So to me, we have to, take notice of our history, of our social contract, and the fact that we are living together, and that if this move may cause division among us, it should be avoided, and because it is further in conflict with the Constitution. Thank you, members.
we are actually introducing 3 heads of offences under hudud. And basically we must be reminded that our nation, Sardar is afraid that the nation will be further divided and there will be a broken down of the nation. Our nation is founded on the Constitution after elaborate study, discussion, academicians involving jurisprudential experts, etc. Not only politicians. Unfortunately, Act 355 was born out of the discussion between more confined to people who wanted to find a way how to implement hudud law. Whether we deny it or not, that is the political intention. So the good faith is not there. So and then we have, this country is founded as a secular country. We have our former Prime Minister Tunku Abdul Rahman Hussein on, and even judges saying this is secular. Now people are disputing that this is not secular. So are we actually moving towards a divine law? Are we in a position to talk about implementing divine laws, etc.? So in the past, now we are talking in the past, if you look at the Constitution, all these laws are personal laws. State law is still in the confine of secular law. We talk of justice. But now when we are introducing these 3 new offences against the state, these people can choose to be trial under Shariah law and not the penal code. For example, a non-Muslim who is being raped by a Muslim offender, and if the Muslim offender, if the non-Muslim cannot, the Muslim offender choose to say that I want to be trial under the Sharia law for illicit sex, so we have a complication, we are going to have conflict of laws, etc. So all this needs to be discussed, not by a joint committee of Sharia experts who wanted to implement Sharia law. We have to get experts on jurisprudence, philosophy of law, the state, because we are talking of offences against the state. It's no longer a personal law. It's not between a moral offence. So these are things which we have to discuss further. So I hope Sardar Zurairi can enlighten us. Thank you.
Okay, what I wish to talk today is to sort of like look at the misrepresenting of arguments from both sides, not just from the supporters but also from detractors of Hadi's bill as well, because I see that we have a lot of lack of knowledge and lack of awareness of what the bill is and what is its implications and all that. So strawman argument, next please. Because a lot of supporters and also critics are relying on strawman argument. Basically what you are doing is you are misrepresenting either your own arguments or other people's arguments, so it is easy for you to attack. And this has led to some sort of arguments that's neither here or there, because you're not attacking and you're not paying attention to the more crucial arguments that are being affected by this bill. So it is because of this ignorance that it is much easier. People are trying to keep the public ignorant because it is easier to persuade them. It is easier to lobby for them to support this bill and for it to be passed. And so that is why we have seen a lot of these strawman arguments going around. Let me go to the next slide, please. Okay. Well, we are talking a lot about hudud today. So people are saying, why are we even talking about hudud? Is Hadi's bill even about hudud? Next please. Yeah, these are some of the explanations that have been given by our political leaders. No, Hadi's bill is not about hudud. And yes, they are right. Hadi's bill is not at all, it is not as it is stated about hudud. It is only about enhancing the Sharia courts. But I disagree when people say that it has nothing to do with hudud, because, well, when it first started, the bill to amend Act 355 is everything about hudud. We started talking about this bill way back in 2014. It was then that Abdul Hadi said that he wished to amend Act 355 because he wanted to implement the second Sharia offences enactment in Kelantan, which we now know as hudud bill. Next, please. Okay, next. Okay, I would like to correct my friend Kevin just now because he said that the first version is all punishments save for death. Well, actually, there is an earlier version before that, which was proposed in April 2015, which is every Sharia punishments, including death. And it was only amended in June the same year. All Sharia punishments except for death, and now we are here at version 3, which was presented just last year with the maximum caps. Well, next please. So, why did Hadi present his bill back in April, which is seeking to remove all the limits of Sharia courts? It's because just before that, yes, on March, Kelantan just passed the Hudud enactment. So that is why he was trying to amend Act 355. And it was only in June where he said everything except for death penalty. Why? Because just the same month, there has been objection by several Malaysians who are all from Muslim background objecting to that. And it was only in November last year that suddenly we have all the maximum caps. No, suddenly everyone is saying, oh no, it's not about hudud, now it's all about enhancing Sharia court. So yes, it's true. The current bill is not about hudud, but it's not exactly not all about hudud. Next please. Yeah, this is the one, the news piece that Sardar mentioned just now. It's true, it's not hudud, but with the amendment, they can still implement 3 hudud punishments. So yes, it's not hudud, but it's also, they are trying to get some sort of hudud light version in, which is, I think, is perhaps a political mistake there. They wanted to have it first, and then suddenly they cannot have it, so okay lah, let's just have like 3 punishments first. We don't know where that's going, ladies and gentlemen. So that's why it was right for us to be worried about this. Next please. But about hudud, that is not really the point, ladies and gentlemen. The point here is that when the punishments cap has been increased, it means that this new cap, which is 30 years, 100,000 fine, and 100 lashes, can also apply to all the existing Sharia offences that we already have. If you look at here, because since we are in KL, right, so this is under the Federal Territories Enactment. So you have Sharia offences such as teaching without credentials, insulting religious enforcers, questioning fatwa, and giving your kids to non-Muslims. These are all the sort of things that can be, the punishments can be increased up to this cap. Now, my learned friend just now said, well, we don't know yet if the states will actually increase whatever punishment that they already have in the next one. Well, pardon me for not being convinced, because in my opinion, our religious enforcers just have a fetish to punish. There has been so many legal challenges against their actions, and if they do not have this fetish, they would have just dropped it. I'm wrong, sorry. Let's not go through with this case. But no, they appeal, and then they appeal until people are suffering for so many years. Okay, next please. Okay, another thing. This is the argument used by the supporters that yes, the bill is constitutional. Well, correct, like my friend just now said. It is under list 2. The act itself is constitutional. It is allowed under the constitution. But that is not the point, ladies and gentlemen. The act and the bill may be constitutional, but the Sharia laws, the Sharia offences that will be affected by the bill, as I have listed before just now, many of them has been challenged and has been argued to be unconstitutional. Next please. So we have a lot of cases in the last few years where people have finally been brave enough to challenge to take these religious authorities to the civil court. Why? Because the civil court has the jurisdiction. You can challenge that. But all after these past years, we have seen the state legal advisors and lawyers who are representing the religious forces. They have been trying to insist that the civil court does not have jurisdiction when it comes to constitutionality of their acts. So we have seen here that currently we are having this some sort of dark push and pull between the jurisdiction between civil court and Shariah court. And next, please. These are just some of the cases that we have seen. So many challenges. And just last week we have this court victory by Kasim Ahmad, who have been he was from Kedah and he was pulled to federal territory just so he can be charged for insulting the religious authorities. And after 3 long years of battle, the federal court finally decided that the act, actually the Court of Appeal actually have decided that Jawi acted unlawfully, but of course fetish to punish, and then they appeal again to federal court, and then they lost. So these are just some of the many cases where we have freedom of expression, freedom of movement, freedom of thought, freedom of association, all guaranteed by our federal constitution. They are being subverted by the Sharia offences, Sharia laws and religious authorities. And just who could forget the transgender case Negeri Sembilan? We have transgenders. This is 2017 people. We already know that gender identity, there's no such thing as it's not binary. We don't just have men and women. Science has proven that there are so many. It's a spectrum. Those transgenders, they have this condition called GID, gender identity dysphoria. So basically, they just cannot help it. They were born in the wrong body, and just by existing, they are committing a Sharia offense because the religious authorities claim they are just men wearing women's clothes, which they are not. They're just expressing their identity. Just because of that, they are committing Sharia offenses. Okay, next please. Okay, this is another argument that's being used. Well, why are so many people suddenly challenging Hadi's bill now? Why before never? Because the bill it was passed in 1965, and then actually right now it is the 3rd attempt to amend Act 355. It has already been done once in 84 to increase to the current cap, which is 356, up from just 6-month jail and 100,000 ringgit fine. And again in 89, if I'm not mistaken, to include not just the Peninsula Malaysia but also Sabah and Sarawak to be covered by Act 355. And now we have the 3rd attempt trying to amend it. So why are so many people opposing it now? Why we having this forum now? Why before this 84 never have this kind of forum? Or why are suddenly now the non-Muslims so insolent? Next slide please. Okay, this is our Dewan Rakyat when after the 82 general election. You can see back then PAS only have 5 MPs. Hadi Awang even lost in his seat. And you have MCA, so many seats back then. And UMNO was in power. And you have to remember that during 84, it was under the leadership of Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad, who is up until now a staunch opposer of Islamization. And also, but compare this now. Next slide, please. Okay, this is our current Dewan Rakyat. We PAS MPs do not only make more proportion of the whole parliament, but we also have another Islamist party, Parti Amanah Negara. And I'm sorry, but MCA, the blue part there. Then we also have the red one. Sorry, can we please go back before? I'm sorry for those who couldn't see the legend from the back. Okay, the red one is UMNO, blue is MCA, green PAS, and grey is others. We compare it to the current composition of Dewan Rakyat. Next. Okay, so right now we have UMNO not even the most representative of the Dewan Rakyat, and MCA has gone down the seats significantly, and the leading holders of the seats are others. So we have a situation where not only there are more Islamist MPs in our parliament, but we also have this political situation where it is easier for the status quo to use religious sentiments, to use to push this Islamist agenda in order to gain political control. Okay, I have 2 minutes. Next. Okay, this is in comparison. It's okay. Next. Okay. Finally, this. Well, Muslims are not affected. Well, of course, it's true. But this is actually it's a strong argument. Why? Because next, it is not only non-Muslims who are opposing this bill. We have so many Muslims who are against this bill, people from Muslim background for many reasons than one. Okay, and then next one, as my colleagues have said before, there are so many cases where non-Muslims are affected, and even now, before this, sorry, next, before this, okay, before that's all. Next, okay, so now we have this situation where, well, we have to know here that, okay, sure, Sharia laws will not directly affect non-Muslims. That much is true. No one is disputing that. But we are not living in silos. We are not, oh, this is Chinese area, this is Malay area, this is Indian area. No, we are all one society. What affects one community will definitely affect the other. And now, just because they want to push through with this, they are resorting to actually blackmailing non-Muslims. You have to support this, otherwise we going to not support your what you want. When it is actually, I mean, this is, I don't know, this is despicable to say the least. So previously, please, okay. We have a lot of hateful people out there who are trying to pit this as a Muslims versus non-Muslims. It's a fight between Muslim and non-Muslim. No, that is incorrect, ladies and gentlemen. It's not even a fight between Malays and non-Malays. No, it is simply a contestation of ideas between those who are trying to impose their version of Islam against those who do not want to accept this, those who want to keep our country plural, those who want to keep our country secular, those who want to keep our country from being divided by this rhetoric that has been going on for how many years, just because of one document. There's only 3 paragraphs, only 3 sections. Next, please. Next. Okay, so what can you do? I'm talking a lot. I mean, and you are, but man, what can I do? Well, we have this group just newly formed. It's called Bebas. Disclaimer: I am not a member. They have this campaign called #YBUndiapa. Next. Which basically they are trying to get the public to help them contact their representatives, their MPs, to know, will you be voting yes or will you be voting no when the private members bill get tabled and later when the government takes over. So you can go to the Facebook page, you can check their list of MPs, and they have all the numbers and email address for those MPs. You can help them call, check with your MPs whether they are supporting or not. Next. Yeah, so we have a couple. This is Selangor, just now a federal territory. Next. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are right now at the tipping point for Malaysia. As we enter general elections, the 14th general elections. In the last general elections, they have used the racial card to divide us all. It will never work again, so now they are trying to use the religious card. So, what can we do right now? Just now, yeah, we can talk to our MPs. We can get more educated about this bill. We can please talk to our friends about it. We need to discuss this. This is not a divine law where you do not be afraid to talk about this, ladies and gentlemen. This is literally the bill. It is a secular document being presented in our parliament, which is a secular place, and going to be voted by our secular representatives, our members of parliament. So do not be afraid of that. It is no time to be neutral. It is no time to be passive. The repercussions of this is bigger than we think. It is basically right now we are going against this Islamist lobby. They are trying to impose their version of Islam on us, and we have to resist. Thank you very much.